Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this week's WARNO devblog, looking at the next part of Nemesis 3 Homefront, aka the PACT Division preview. And the division is the Warsaw Pact's 157th Motostrelkovaya? Obviously it's starting with Motostrelki, but then it kind of has the O-V-A-Y-A at the end, and I have no idea how to pronounce that in Russian. So this division is based in Crimea, the next flank we are visiting, with the Soviet 157th being our Nemesis division of choice. Unlike many other Soviet army formations, this particular battle group didn't trace its lineage to World War II. It was only activated in the Crimea Oblast in 1969, seeing no action during the Cold War history. In the final years, the division was converted into a training formation, and they pretty much devolved into a weapon storage unit. After the Soviet Union's dissolution, the 157th MSD was merged into the Ukrainian Armed Forces. However, in the timeline of WARNO, this will not happen. In WARNO's 1989, the 157th MSD were part of the Soviet Army's 32nd Army Corps, which controlled all the troops in the vitally important Crimea. These forces guarded against enemy landings from raids over the Black Sea, protecting the critical Soviet Navy's infrastructure and naval bases. The 157th was a mobilization division with a small cadre of professional soldiers. The majority of its manpower came from reservists who, at times of conflict, would be recalled and man the older equipment kept in storage on the heavily defended peninsula. As such, the 157th will be the first Soviet reserve division in WARNO. Some attachments will be added to beef up the formation, including personnel from the nearby 711th Territorial Training Center, assets from the Soviet Navy's Black Sea Fleet, including various vehicles and weaponry in varying stages of active testing prior to being pressed into service, and an eclectic mix of stored equipment. If we know one thing, the Soviet Army never threw anything away, however obsolete. So what can you expect from the division in game? Well, as always, I will try and highlight by explaining which ones are brand new. So, in logistics, they say it's a good category. The division has a home turf advantage. This means on the supply side, it will get the FOB, the Ural 4320, and the Karaz 225B supply trucks, as well as the heavy lift Mi-6A supply helicopter. On the command side, there is the classic Belzor Jeep, as well as the new BTR-40B and BTR-152S wheeled armoured command vehicles. These latter two trade speed for HP. Infantry is a very good category for the 157th. Plenty of diversity, a small core of professional Motostrelki squads coming in either the BMP-1 or BTR-60PB, one of each card plus a command version. There will be the usual way of support teams, including both sets of ATGMs and the PKM. Being a reserve division aimed at defense, several heavier units are also deployable, including the new DS-HK 12.7mm in a dual ground and AA tripod mode. A sizable quantity of the division's forces will be made up of the new reservisti, all with the disheartened trait and their own special models. These reservist soldiers will come in several flavours. First up are the Reservisti Commander, the 7-man command squad with the AK-74, 1 PKM, an RPG-7 VM, and they can come in either the Ural trucks or the BTR-152K APC, which is also new. It is used in other Warsaw armies, but it's the first time to be featured in the Soviet Army Division, so technically it's not really new. Okay, at least they're being honest about it. Reservisti are a 7-man rifle squad of the AK-74, the RPK-74, and the RPG-7 VM. They have the same transport options as the preceding unit. Then there are the Partizani. Despite the name, not sneaky resistance fighters. Instead, this company, Soviet nicknamed for finding a second-rate recruit when you scrape the barrel. They are badly equipped, badly motivated, and badly trained. In WARNO, the Partizani are a 10-man rifle squad with the AKM, 1 World War II vintage DPM, and 1 M91/30 PU Mosin sniper rifle. Both are new weapons to the game, as well as an RPG-2, and they will deploy in Ural trucks. Then there is the Res Sapri, an 8-man engineer squad with an AKM, 1 World War II vintage DPM and satchel charges, likewise deployable in the Ural. There will then be the Res Sapri LPO, an 8-man engineer squad with a mix of World War II PPS-43, new to the game, and AKMs, plus an LPO 50 flamethrower, likewise in Ural. Then there will be the Res Maxim 7.2mm, Harem Maxim's good old Nazi killer machine gun from 1910, which was modified in 1941 and was still held in Soviet storage in great numbers in 1989. Then there will be the Res B11 107mm, an older and bigger recoilless rifle, and the predecessor to the SPG-9. It is roughly similar to the American M40A1, though with a bit less AP. And then there is the Res Okrana. This 5-man squad with 4 PPS-43s and 1 DPM. They were mostly railroad guards looking for saboteurs and other suspicious-looking folk. They come with a security trait and patrol in their UAZ 3151. Obviously, someone needs to keep the rabble in line, and the division can count on the Commander Chura and the Zagradotriad. I still find that one really hard to say. The Zagradotriad? I wouldn't care. I'm sure someone's told me how to pronounce that before and I've just forgotten. Anyhow, there will also be a new squad, the Okrana VMF, which provides on-the-ground security for Sevastopol's important naval facilities. These are 14-man strong squads fielding the AK-74 and RPK-74s, deploying with a security trait and brand new black-cladded Soviet naval infantry models. Okay, straight on to the artillery. So a good healthy category with lots of varied options. Artillery is mostly composed of older pieces, however. So these will include the mortars such as the B14 82mm and the older PM43 120mm in WARNO in service with other Warsaw Pact nations, but the first time in the Soviet Army. The ubiquitous towed D30 120mm howitzer. Some equipment already in use by other Warsaw Pact nations, but not in the Soviet Army. These will be the D1 152mm howitzer and the BM24M MLRS. The local Crimean defenders could also strengthen their firepower with some dusty equipment drawn from deep storage, especially World War II artillery. The BS 300mm, which was still used in 1989 as a field gun, retaining some decent anti-tank capabilities, and the super heavy B4M 203mm and the BR 5M 280mm can both be considered AVRE material thanks to their direct HE fire capability. And Crimea was also the Soviet Navy's testing ground for new weapons such as the A222 Berg, coastal defense artillery designed to strike enemy ships loitering at sea. The modern 130mm gun could easily be turned into a ground fire self-propelled gun with a long range and high rate of fire, but lacking AP shells or smoke. The tank tab is an average category, as the 157th relied mostly on T-54B and T-55A, including command variants. This is the first time these tank models appear in the Soviet Army in WARNO. Their divisions could also count on the new T-55A OBR-81 variant with a smoke launcher and better laser rangefinder, resulting in a tank gun range of 2,100 meters. Another new variant is the T-55 AM-1 and the AM-1K command tank, which is a hybrid featuring the T-55A's armour and the T-55 AM-2's improved gun. Support vehicles include the BRDM-2 Malyukta P and the TO-55 flamethrower tank. A new piece of equipment is the KSM 6500mm mobile coastal gun, which can be turned into a decent towed anti-tank gun with a good rate of fire. And last, the cherry on the cake, Crimea held a number of World War II vintage IS-2M. Most were used as static pillboxes, but we considered that in our march to war, quite a few would have been brought back into running order by cannibalizing part of whatever tanks that remained. Okay, recon tab. So far away from the front line of divisions, recon assets weren't a priority. This means standard Razvedka and BRM-1K. The battle group also receives a new but old BTR-40A armoured car with the ZPU-2 anti-air machine gun. The new Razvedka unit, a 7-man recon squad, identical to the Reservisti infantry and riding in a Ural or the BTR-40 APC. And lastly, the USSR ordered 8 K-1 light helicopters from the Indian HAL company. After one crash during the test flight, more orders were cancelled. The delivered machines, known as the K-1 Cheetah, were assigned to the Black Sea Fleet and used as training helicopters. This light helicopter has been featured in other WARNO nations, but under a different name altogether. Did we mention that the K1 was in fact a license-produced Alouette 3? Informally, they were known as the Frenchman helicopters, so the French rotorcraft in service with the Soviet armed forces. Who would have thought? Then in the AA tab, it's an average category with the division's organic anti-air being mediocre. This is offset by plentiful army and coastal AA defences to repel any airborne assaults. The divisional AA includes the light new Strela 3, the regular ZU-23-2 and the Ural 4320 ZPU-4. Army level AA includes the AZP S60 57mm and the 2K11M3 Krug M3, both units in the first time they will be featured in the Soviet division. And Coastal Artillery provides Super Heavy, or the new KS-30 130mm anti-air gun. I guess that's a flak gun? Okay, helicopter tab. Well, it's pretty dismal. There was no dedicated attack helicopter squadron nearby, and the only rotary wing support would have been the trusty old Mi-8 hastily equipped with weapons. This means you can deploy the Mi-8 M2 Rocket 2 and the Mi-8 TV. The latter is similar in configuration to the East German counterpart, although here equipped with the Fangela P missiles. Air is a good category for the 157th, with close air support provided by the Su-25 in Rocket, AT, Cluster and HE roles, and air superiority is done by the MiG-23 MLAA and the new Su-15TM Flagon interceptors, with two different configurations of the R-98MR and R-98MT missiles. The Crimean Peninsula was also the testing ground for new future navalized variant of the Su-27, the new Su-27K, the post-Cold War Su-33, although in-game bearing its prototype designation, the T-10K-3. So they finish off by saying that the 157th MSD is a defensive reservist division relying on strong infantry, artillery and air support. And technically, while armour is present, its plentiful infantry and mix of old and some very new units form the backbone of the division's firepower. And that's everything for this week. They say they hope to bring you more news, especially on when Nemesis 3 will launch soon. No suggesting there what's in next week's devblog, unfortunately, but such is life. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you all next week.